In the south of the Boperima region of the northwest province is the small town of Taung. It is not far from Vryburg, the largest town of the region. Taung is also accessible from Kimberley and Wolmerandstad on the N12. Close to Taung, which means place of the lion, lies the Buxton Quarry, once the property of the Northern Lime Company. A road sign attracts attention to one of the most important discoveries in human history. This area is a World Heritage Site, and it is dedicated to the discovery of a fossilized skull of a young child. The fossil was blasted out of an ancient cave during quarry operations during the 20s of the previous century. It wasn't an ape, nor a human. It was something in between. But the skull surely belonged to the hominid family, which includes humans and great apes such as gorillas. The fossil settled in Tufa Caves, the smallest of any of the hominid-bearing caves in southern Africa. The soft, porous rocks were formed by calcium carbonate deposits from springs rich in lime. Taung became an enigma, to be followed later by discoveries in much larger caves such as Sterkfontein and Swartkrans, not far from Johannesburg. These groundbreaking discoveries established Africa as the cradle of humankind. The man responsible for the scientific classification of the Taung skull was Professor Raymond Dart. It happened in 1924, when he was head of the anatomy department of the medical school at the University of the Witwatersrand.
Of course, the tremendously exciting part of it was that nobody had ever yet found a fossil endocranial cast of any primate, and I could see from its size that it was much bigger than that of any baboon. Yes, and of course the digging of the face out of the stone took many weeks. When it was out, it was a complete face, the like of which nobody had ever seen before. When they had any primate remains, they were purely those of, say, a few teeth or a little bit of upper jaw or lower jaw. Nobody had ever found a skull that was so complete.
Dart named it Australopithecus africanus. Australo means south, Pithecus is ape, and Africanus is from Africa. Australopithecus africanus, for that reason, means southern ape of Africa. Although not without controversy, the discovery of the Taung child skull was proclaimed as one of the most significant events of the time. It effectively advanced evidence of the existence of early man in Africa by more than 1 million years, leading many scientists to believe that early man was indeed initiated on the African continent. The original Taung fossils form part of the fossil collection of the University of the Witwatersrand, and it consists of 3 parts. The first is the mandible, or lower jawbone. The second part is the face. The third section is only a cast, consisting of rock on the inside of the brain case, or cranium. Scientists call it an endocranial cast.
What we have here is the famous Taung child. This was an extremely important hominid specimen, with the fact that it was the very first hominid that was ever found. In other words, it's a creature that's unlike any of the other apes, a creature that possibly is on the same lineage as humans.
It's the face, the lower jaw, and the brain endocast of a child, and Dart recognized it later on as an early hominid, different to anything else ever found before.
Now, even though it looks like a fossilized brain, it's not the brain at all. It is the inside of the cranium that was filled with material, and that essentially took on the shape of the brain. Almost like a miniature cave. It lay there for hundreds of thousands of years, in which calcium carbonate formed within the cranium of this child. This is a mandible, the lower jaw, and if this was all that was found at the time, it would have been sensational. It would have changed the way we see human evolution.
A theory proposed by Wits academics is that the Taung child was killed by a predatory bird, such as an eagle. In 1924, Dart faced rejection by those who believed that modern humans first appeared in Asia, but his work was finally vindicated by subsequent discoveries, notably by Dr. Robert Broom, who uncovered Mrs. Pless in 1947 at Sterkfontein in South Africa. He was Dart's only supporter, in times when Dart was bitterly criticized. Other discoveries in Africa supported Dart and Broom on Australopithecus africanus, and it verified Africa as the birthplace of the human race. The Taung child was eventually recognized as the first fossil find of a human ancestral relative, dating from more than 2 million years ago. This was a turning point in our understanding of human evolution. Where does the Taung child fit in human evolution? Let's start at the beginning. Earth has been spinning for almost 5 billion years in our universe that is about 14 billion years old. The earliest forms of life appeared about 4 billion years ago. At about 200,000 years ago, humans like us emerged. But what about ancestors before that time? Fossils and DNA research suggest that our family tree begins with an ape species that lived about 8 million years ago. It was the forebear of the African apes. A 7-million-year-old fossil from Chad, named Tumai, is perhaps the closest and oldest we have come to finding an ancestor near to both humans and apes. Closer to our family tree was Australopithecus afarensis, which lived about 4 million years ago and which is best represented by the Ethiopian fossil Lucy. After Lucy, our family tree displays at least 2 branches. One branch forms the Paranthropus genus. The other begins with the Australopithecus africanus. These creatures evolved specialized teeth and jaws that could grind hard foods such as roots, berries, and seeds. Paranthropus means parallel to humans. 1 million years ago, Paranthropus disappeared. Australopithecus africanus had human-like teeth and hands, but also had some ape-like features, including a small brain, flattened nose, and forward-projecting jaws. Examples such as the Taung child and Mrs. Pless lived between 2 and 3 million years ago. Some say that the genus Homo evolved from something similar to the Taung and Pless specimens.
The question that was asked was, why did Raymond Dart think that this creature was different to anything else found before? He felt very strongly, almost immediately, that it wasn't a monkey or a baboon or even an ape. One can see in this young chimpanzee compared to this young child that the tooth form is somewhat different. The molars have a different shape. This is a more human-like tooth, keeping in mind these are still baby teeth, deciduous teeth. Another very important feature, if you look at an ape, is that there's a gap between the canines and the incisors. You see the gap over there. That's known as diastema. In humans and in the hominids, you don't get the same level of diastema.
Homo in Latin means human, and it refers to any living or extinct member of the family Hominidae characterized by superior intelligence, articulate speech, and upright walking. The genus Homo, to which we belong, is first recognized in the form of Homo habilis, a hominid with a notably larger brain than Australopithecus africanus. Homo habilis lived about 2 million years ago, and they were the first known to be able to make stone tools. After Homo habilis followed Homo ergaster, with its bigger brain, the same size as humans, and the ability to produce advanced tools and to control fire. Elsewhere in Asia and Europe, between 20,000 and 600,000 years ago, species such as Homo heidelbergensis and Homo neanderthalensis evolved and became extinct. Modern humans belong to Homo sapiens. In Africa, they emerged about 200,000 years ago. They looked like us and were fully human. They could think and communicate symbolically, were self-aware, and created complex social and cultural ways of life. The discovery of the Taung child by Raymond Dart in 1924 contributed enormously to the understanding of our evolutionary tree, and it proved that Africa is the cradle of humankind. Many other fossils have also been found here, and ongoing research reinforces the enormous importance of this World Heritage Site. The value of the original skull and other fossils is priceless, and science would suffer a major blow if something happens to them. The fossils are being kept in a safe at Wits University, where it is accessible for further research. The Taung site is not only of archaeological importance, and while a visit to Dart's Pinnacle, the spot where the lime-encrusted skull was excavated, is a must, there are many other attractions. From the limestone cliffs at the head of the valley, a constant flow of clear water runs through a succession of attractive pools on their way down to the ancient valley. The amazing blue pools are surrounded by caves and streams. They attract many hikers, adventurers, and visitors who want to picnic there. But Taung's fame is above all linked to the discovery in 1924 of a juvenile skull that helped to improve the understanding of our past. It was a first of its kind, and it placed Africa first in the evolution of humankind.